Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu. Mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services. Discover how to build a multi-million pound business with software for quick loans. In today's session, we have Andres Klarik, and he is the co-founder and co-CEO of Fuse, a next-gen loan origination system that simplifies lending for financial institutions through self-serve customization, a low-code API builder, and a personalized agent portal. Over the last decade, Andres worked on Wall Street investing in tech and business services. This gave him an acute awareness of the issues slowing down lenders from achieving their highest potential, ultimately leading to starting Fuse with his co-founder, Mark Escapa. My first question is, what's the secret to your success?
I think I'm not sure it's a secret, but it's kind of like a common thing that I see in other folks kind of starting their own businesses, and it's a good mix of self-belief, a ton of positive self-doubt, right? That allows you to kind of like challenge your assumptions and be able to kind of be a truth seeker, so to speak. And just stamina. You need to outwork your competition, right? You need to be work smarter, but unfortunately there's no shortcut to work hard, right? Like and those I would say are the four elements that have come with me in my entire career, not only as an entrepreneur but even before then.
Thank you. And what's your secret to becoming an awakened titan?
I would say it's a level of curiosity and just being fascinated by all that it's there to be discovered. Like for me, I just love going back to bed every night thinking I just know so little, right? And just discovering how, for me, like the process of discovery is how much I actually have yet to discover, right? And like you try to answer a question, you tackle a problem, another 10, 20 more problems show up. So that in itself is something that I really, really enjoy, right? I think problem solving could be pretty overwhelming, but at least in my experience, that in itself is kind of what fuels that fire from a professional standpoint, right? What is the next problem that needs to be solved? And that allows you to enjoy the journey, right? Because otherwise you're just focused on just one goal in itself, whereas like the process of figuring out things out is far more enjoyable. And the reality is like it's most of it's the process, right? Otherwise you lose perspective on why you're doing things.
Thank you. And what steps should entrepreneurs take to become an awakened titan like you?
I would say the first set of steps, I mean, before like you even start a business, right? It's getting good mentors, getting like the right set of experience, right? If you don't have those yet, then it's never too late to start approaching someone in the office, someone that you admire, and just trying to find a way for them to kind of mentor you. In terms of getting the right experiences, it's taking ownership of your own career, right? Like, let's say you want to work at X place and you're at Y, just trying to be network, try to get into that job, and seeing those places not only as like as a next step, but also why you want to go there. What is it that you want to get out of those experiences, right? I would recommend most people against just starting from scratch business. I think it is far more helpful to the majority of us, not everyone, but the majority of us, to get the skills, in essence, learn from others before, and from others that have actually been in the game for a while, so that you can actually shortcut certain things, right? Like the reality is you're going to be able to figure out a lot of the challenges that come in front of you. But some problems take longer than others. So it does help to have the mentorship of people that have done it before, or work within organizations that kind of master the art of problem solving components of what you want to do later in life, right? For example, in my case, I think it served me well working in the banking industry earlier in my career, right? I spent 2 years at an investment bank, but the hours were so long that effectively I probably got like the equivalent of 4 or 5 years, right, of experience with. And that, I think, the biggest element that I got from those first 2 years was just stamina, just outworking everyone else, right? Like you're going to put the hours, and like you know what your limits are, and that was that. Then probably the other 7 or 8 years in Wall Street, I learned how to become an investor, right? Like the details. How do you get into like building a thesis around things? How do you minimize risk? How do you maximize the potential? How do you talk to managers and elements like that? And now, as you build a business, you kind of like put together everything you learned before. And some of the stuff was not going to apply, right? But at least you're going to be able to repurpose them and bring it into light, and also challenge your own assumptions on things.
Thank you. And how did you become a titan? Do you come from money, or how did you have the money to start doing your first job, for example?
Yeah, I still think that it's I have a lot ahead of me. I think that it's flattering, but I'm not. My body of work still ahead of me, I would say. I come from a family that has taught me great things, right? Like if for anything that we lacked, I think we put up in the kind of self-belief, in kind of a complete sense of love and support, and that in itself is probably the biggest gift you can give to a child, right? Like I think my parents believed in me more than I ever believed, and that in itself gives you a lot of runway, right? That sense of love and understanding, so that you can make your own mistakes, and knowing that your family is going to be there for you, right, and encourage you to take bold risks. And then in essence, that because they believe so much in you, that they feed your own sense of self-belief, right? So that in itself translates into you being able to kind of pull off certain things that like others perhaps don't, because it's the power of love. It's the power of like of a loving family, of a supporting family. I think that was the biggest gift that I was given, and something that I want to pass on to my children.
Thank you. And how did you start out? What was your first thing that you did? Did you work always in finance, or was there something else that you did first?
No, my first job was selling cars. I was a car salesman at a dealership here in Northern Virginia in the US. I helped my parents pay for school selling cars. And then I did that for 3 summers. In essence, the best thing about being a car salesman is just the utter rejection, right? If you're, no matter what background of life you come from, working in sales is an incredible experience, because life is all about rejection, right? Like you're gonna deal with rejection. So the sooner you get acquainted with the bitter flavor of rejection and the sweetness of like actually overcoming rejection, the better, I think, the better position you're going to be with like the good and bad things that are going to come in life, particularly the bad things, right? It makes you kind of build confidence. It allows you to really think about strategically how you're going to say things, how you're going to do things, and it allows you to kind of like stand up and continue when there's been a setback, right? Then after my career in sales, I went to Wall Street. I was an investor in tech and business services. A lot of that time was spent in just analyzing businesses. So it's not there's not much of sales there, but like I think as you grow senior in those teams, like you still need to sell that the analysis you did was was in depth. You need to tell like the senior investors, this is why I think we should do this, or this is why I think we shouldn't buy into this stock or buy this company. And then you realize that like as you just go into more and more different type of roles, that the importance of selling or just kind of compelling people to do something, it becomes more and more important, right? So I'm glad that I had that very early onset of my career, because it kind of became like a common thread across all the jobs that I had. And even now, even more important now today, right? You need to fundraise, you need to hire, you need to sell too, like you need to sell the software that you have and things like that.
Thank you. And how did you integrate being awakened into your business?
I think that for me that the having an underlying purpose is key. Coming from a family of immigrants, of course, I the way that I always perceive we so Fuse works with banks, right? We help banks, financial institutions as a whole, like be more efficient and operate at a faster pace. So when my parents immigrated to the U.S., right, like the way they kind of express their love, so to speak, was by virtue of sending us money back to Bolivia. That's where I grew up, and I remember going to the bank and picking up the money they had sent us, and I always thought banks as place of hope, right? Like that's kind of where I got the love from my parents via the money that allows to pay for school, get paid for for food and all the other things that we had to get. So anything that translates into us, and myself particularly, kind of more of an inside inspiration, is to make financial institutions more efficient, right? So because I know that if financial institutions are more efficient, more people are going to get loans, more people are going to get access to their dreams, more companies are going to be able to hire. So doing that, what it seems in principle, oh, you're just helping orchestrate a loan with better software. In reality, there's like way more into it, right? You're actually making the economic engine of society, these financial institutions, more efficient, right? Like everyone knows about the effect of credit into like when credit is tight, the economy doesn't grow as fast. When credit is much more efficient, people get access to the loans that they need to do the things that they want.
Thank you. Was this the experience that awakened your drive to not only achieve success, but also make a difference to millions of people through software that allows for quick loans?
100%. Like I do remember applying for loans when I was a college student. I remember in the midst of the financial crisis, my credit cards getting canceled without any reason. I don't remember even having used any of those cards, and like just cutting risk and things like that, right? So the process of applying for a student loan back in the day was just so cumbersome, and to the extent that I know it still remains that way, right? And I do remember when I was at the car dealership, like the process of filling an application, writing forms, me having to kind of put that into a computer, having to ask the person, hey, like, what does it say here? Does it say Andres? Does it say Lily? Does it Patrascu? And like all of that was just so cumbersome. So that I thought, hey, like there has to be a better way, right? There has to, if Uber figured out how to do away with the taxi, if DoorDash did away with like having to make it know the phone number of all the restaurants out there and just make it into an intuitive thing. I can go into any city in the world and I know how to order food. I can go into any city in the world and I will get a taxi. The experience with credit should be the same, right? Anyone should be able to apply in a way that resembles what they're getting into other categories of consumer goods, right? So what we strive for is empowering lenders to replicate those experiences that their customers are already getting elsewhere, right? So customers already know that is a possibility. So what we help lenders do is like not look silly, right? Because in essence, like they cannot really tell the world anymore this is not possible, right? Because it is already completely possible and has been possible for over 10 years.
Thank you. The hardest thing for a brand is to make things simple. So how did you manage to simplify a very complicated process of lending and create a simple software that can help so many lenders?
Yeah, I think Cicero said something along the lines, if I had more time, I would have written a short letter or something like that. I think that we are at a stage in which technology has progressed, right? So it allows us, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Like a lot of software has come out of the market in the last 10 to 15 years. And that's completely ignoring the effect of that AI is already having and it's going to have over the next 5 to 10. So the process of simplifying is you first need to understand the process well, right? To simplify it, right? So it's what is it we're simplifying, right? And then reimagining that process and measuring each part of the process, how much time each part of the process takes, and what part of the process today can be automated and eliminated completely, right? So that is kind of like intelligent design, so to speak, or design thinking. You first become a master of what the process is today. And then you look at each part of the process, you disaggregate it, you study it, you say like, this today can be autofilled, this can be done this way. And that's kind of like what we do in order to like make it much easier for lenders to originate loans.
Thank you. And what tips do you have for entrepreneurs who also want to build a multi-million pound business?
I would say it's start with ideas are cheap, right? So I do remember not being an entrepreneur and thinking, oh, that's so easy. I could have figured that out. Well, figuring like the easiest part is the ideas are like, I have ideas all the time. Like and I had ideas before building business. Uh, Starting a business from zero in particular is super hard, right? You just people always compare it. I don't know if you've heard this, but I've heard this multiple times. It's kind of trying to jumping off plane without a parachute, performing brain surgery, and just trying to like figure out how it's like when you land at the end, right? And I I do think that like one of the biggest piece of advice that I can give is more practical advice, right? First and foremost is if you're going to do it, like just put a time commitment, meaning like just go do it, but do not embark on this journey that it's like I'm going to figure this out for like 3 years. I think that if you put yourself a time limit in terms of like by this time I want to have found an idea, that creates discipline. The idea that you live, the concept of living in a finite timeline allows you to be very discerning of where do you actually allocate your time. So that way you say, okay, I need to find an idea in which I developed enough enthusiasm and I've proven enough that I can go for it. Otherwise, you probably become just a bohemian that it's not pursuing anything. That's kind of the risk that you fall into if you just don't put the time limit. I'm sure some entrepreneurs would disagree with me, but at least in my experience, setting a time limit is a fundamental thing that you should put. Then I would say risk. Your time is the most important thing. So like, don't be over generous with that. And third is put a little bit. You're putting enough time. You're going to put time, right? Like that time is money, but you also need to spend a little bit of money, right? So put enough skin in the game that you feel the pinch. But of course, like the concept of betting the farm, I think that one is in most instances I wouldn't recommend it, right? Unless, yeah, in general, I would recommend against folks that are essentially burn all their life savings in an idea that it's very green. I would say just get some proof points, and to the extent that you can, try to raise venture money to leverage yourself, because otherwise you're operating in a vacuum. And the best thing you can get is when you get outside investors or other people, you get ideas too, like how to improve the business, how to you start learning from others, right? What I was saying before, like it's much easier to learn from other people's mistakes than yours. So just don't go solo.
Thank you. And what are the top mistakes entrepreneurs make when building a multi-million pound fintech business?
I mean, tactically ones is not getting insurance. Like, for example, not incorporating and setting like the legal frameworks that will protect them, right? Like you start a business and all of a sudden like there's all this legal stuff you didn't know you should do, right? So in the US at least, incorporating is not that expensive. So incorporate that business, get general liability. That's like practical advice that everyone should follow, right? This is not like blue sky thinking. This is just protect your money, protect yourself from all the liability. Let's say whatever you're doing, like someone says that you infringe copyrights, right? If you have a C corp or a framework and a general liability thing like that, that will allow you to like not be personally liable for anything that or most things out there, right? Like I'm not a lawyer, but in general, that helps. And I think I agree wholeheartedly with the concept that Y Combinator says that like most companies don't die from competition; they die from their own mistakes, right? And uh, I think that you need to learn from your competition, but you're too small. In most instances, you're nobody, right? So coming to that realization that like your competition not really doesn't care about you is very important. it's it's the whole notion that in general you're alone in the world is very important to keep yourself grounded, right? That only you can help yourself, and also that most people just don't care about you. So the same thing happens to the competition very early on. So that is very important to keep that in mind, so you don't get into this paranoia of like, oh, the competition is coming to kill me. The reality is you're the biggest killer of companies is the founders themselves.
Thank you. And where can fintech founders find funding for their business to make sure they can deliver with the speed they desire?
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, ideally, you build fast enough that you don't need any funding, and you can just. But that's hard. Uh, I think that's why I'm so obsessed with the idea of the concept of putting timelines, right? That you get proof points, meaning like early paid customers or early beta customers. And a business that like has customers is a business that it can be fundable, or it's a business that can fund itself. So the faster you get to someone that wants to use the business, the sooner you can actually think about how you fund that business, right? Like and it also de-risks. Otherwise, you live in the pie in the sky world in which you're just building a product that has no customers. So your obsession should be not only funding, but just the customers that will make that funding easier.
Thank you. And how do you find your first 1,000 customers?
1,000, I at least in our business, we're not there yet. But in I would say I going back to Y Combinator, do things that do not scale in the beginning, right? Like it's your baby. Document what you're doing, but in general, you're going to be doing things that do not scale. So take a lot of ownership, make that customer very happy. That should be your obsession, because that customer is going to bring you the next customer, right? So that I think that applies to anything in life, right? Do on others what you want to be, like that's like the golden rule, right? And I think it applies in business, right? That's how you get make them win. Everyone wants to win, and so if you allow others to win, it applies to your career too, right? If you help others be successful, you'll be successful. So just have that servant leader mentality, and like good things will follow.
Thank you. And what will increase a company's valuation in the early stages?
Sales, 100% sales, sell.
Thank you so much. And what's your legacy message to entrepreneurs?
Call your parents, make time for family. It's at the end of the day, that business is going to either continue or not without you. But we live a finite period of life, period of time here in the world. Of course, I want to build an organization that outlives me, but my parents, and nor myself, nor my children, nor my family, and my wife, my siblings are going to outlive this organization. That's why was making time for family. I would say is entrepreneurs tend to forget that. We tend to forget that. So that will be the most important thing.
Wow, I love that. I love that. So build a multi-million pound business, but definitely be there for your family.
Yeah.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential, so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness, and manifest anything you desire.